He's the CEO of Beam and a contributor at Eco. Here you go, Andy.
Thank you. Thanks, guys. Hey, everyone. As you just heard, my name's Andy Bromberg. I'm the CEO of Beam and a contributor to the Eco protocol, and I'm here to talk about payments. And for me, payments is the killer use case of crypto. It's the reason we're all here. It's the reason this technology even exists. I've been in the space for 10 or 11 years now, and when I first got into it in 2012, payments was the only thing. That's what we were working on. We were working on building better money and better ways to pay outside of the existing system. But here we are more than a decade later, and nobody's really using crypto payments. And I find that quite odd, because for me, again, it was the original point. It's still the best thing this technology can be used for, and yet it's not really used today. And if you don't believe me that that was the whole original point of the industry, if this slide came back here, there we go. You can ask this guy. Satoshi wrote this white paper, and the title of the white paper is Bitcoin, a peer-to-peer electronic cash system. The original vision for the technology was peer-to-peer electronic cash, a better way to pay. And if you read this white paper, it says a purely peer-to-peer version of electronic cash would allow online payments to be sent directly from one party to another without intermediaries. That was the vision. And yet here we are 15 years after the publication of the Bitcoin white paper, and people still aren't really paying. And why is that? Well, it's because a lot of problems had to be solved along the way, and many of them have been solved. And I would argue we're actually very close to that promised era, that golden age of on-chain payments, where people will actually be paying with crypto, paying on-chain. And some really important things have happened in the past few years that have enabled this. One is stablecoins. Although Bitcoin's existed since 2009, people generally don't want to pay with Bitcoin. I don't know about you, but I certainly don't. People want to pay in a currency that they're familiar with. And so that led to the creation of stablecoins in 2013 or 2014. That was a huge step forward in enabling on-chain payments because it was giving people an asset that they actually wanted to pay with. But that wasn't enough. When that came through, it was still expensive and slow to send transactions on the blockchain. And so over the past few years, we've seen an explosion of rollups and alternative L1s and L2s that enable cheap and fast on-chain transactions. And then last year, actually at ETHDenver on Ethereum, a new piece of technology was launched, and that was called account abstraction. And account abstraction, also known as ERC 4337 in the Ethereum ecosystem, is technology that allows user wallets to be much smarter than they used to be. Before account abstraction, user wallets were really simple. All they could do was sign and send transactions on the Ethereum blockchain, paying gas in ETH for those transactions. And that was fine, but only really fine for those of us who are in the industry, because if you want to send stablecoins to someone, it just doesn't make sense for you to also need Ethereum in your wallet. For mainstream users, that's just a non-starter, and account abstraction enabled us to get past that, to get to a world where people can actually use wallets in the way it makes sense, paying fees in the currency that they're sending. And so we've seen all of these innovations, stablecoins, rollups, account abstraction, and yet people still aren't paying on-chain. And why is that? Because I think there's a few problems that remain. And I want to talk about just a couple of them today. We talk for hours about all of these, but I want to touch on just a couple. The major ones that I see are, one, privacy. People have an expectation that their transactions, their financial transactions, are private, but on the blockchain, they're not. And so there's lots of smart people out there today working on solving privacy, but it's not yet a solved problem for transactions, for payments. That's one. Another is on and off ramps. And again, there's great people working on this. The Coinbase team's doing great work. We work with Mezzo and Cato and a bunch of other great on-ramps. But getting funds onto the blockchain and then back off is something that needs to be solved. And if you look around, there's a lot of widgets for on and off ramping, a lot of easy ways for you to get funds from your bank account or your credit card or your debit card into crypto assets. But most of those ways today charge really high fees, and it's just not usable for people to actually seamlessly on and off ramp. So that has to be solved as well. And one more that I would highlight is disputes and irreversibility. One of the great promises of this technology is that crypto transactions are irreversible. They make it so that you don't need an intermediary to mediate disputes, but at the same time, a lot of consumers today have expectations that they'll be able to dispute transactions. When you buy something with your credit card, you expect that one day, if the seller doesn't deliver, you'll be able to dispute that. And that needs to be solved as well. So those are three problems that need to be solved: privacy, on and off ramps, and disputes. But today I want to talk about two more and how we're solving them. And those two are the user experience and liquidity fragmentation. When I talk about user experience, this is about making these products such that they are actually better than their Web 2 equivalents. We are not just competing against each other in the crypto payment space, we are competing against this world of incredible payment products that are competing in the market today against each other. In order for us to win and bring payments on-chain, paying with crypto needs to be easier than Venmo or Cash App or TransferWise or PayPal or any of the options that you have today. It doesn't just need to measure up to it, it actually needs to be better. And that's not quite true today, and I'm going to talk about how we can fix that. And the second problem I want to talk about today in depth is liquidity fragmentation. When I talk about liquidity fragmentation, what I'm referencing is that although we've solved this problem of cheap and fast transactions, the way we've solved it has created 1,001 different blockchains and rollups and L2s, each of which are not interoperable with each other. If I have stablecoins on Base and I want to pay you on Optimism or Arbitrum or Polygon or Solana or whatever chain, I can't. They're not interoperable. We've created all of these global payment systems that don't actually work together. And as a result, we've seen liquidity fragment on all these different chains. All of a sudden, there's stablecoins on all these chains, and they can't be sent to each other. And so we need to solve liquidity fragmentation as well. And those are the two things I want to talk about. The first is user experience. Like I said, in order for crypto payments to win, the user experience of using them has to be better than their Web 2 equivalents. So we've built a product called Beam. It's a really simple peer-to-peer payments product. We talk about it like global Venmo, the easiest way to send money instantly with nearly zero fees to anyone around the world. And when I say that, I really mean it. Anyone, anywhere in the world. That's a really powerful concept, because when you use Web 2 products today, you can't do that. Most peer-to-peer payment products like Venmo or Cash App are only usable within a single country. I can send money really easily to my friends in the United States on Venmo, but I can't send money to a friend. If I go out for drinks in London with a friend and I want to pay them back, I can't do it with Venmo. I can't do it with Cash App. I can't do it with any of the peer-to-peer products I want to use. And even money movement products like TransferWise, now Wise, or PayPal, they work cross-border, but often with really high fees, and more importantly, often not with full geographic coverage. They only support major markets, and they don't support a huge number of people out in the world that are not only unbanked or underbanked, but underserved by even these global financial technology products. So Beam is a non-custodial wallet. It's like MetaMask or Ledger or Coinbase Wallet, and what that means is that it's available globally on day zero. Anyone can use it anywhere in the world. I can send money to a friend no matter where they are, and they don't even need to be a Beam user yet. And that's one way that we can improve the UX of these Web 2 products. We can actually make it so that you can truly send money to anyone. Another way we can improve the UX of these Web 2 products is that because wallets can be non-custodial, that means that onboarding to them can be much, much easier. When you go to sign up for Venmo or PayPal or any centralized custodial product, there's a huge onboarding process you have to go through. You have to KYC, submit invasive personal information, and go through a whole process just to be able to access money or receive money from friends. But these non-custodial products, they don't work like that. Anyone can open up a non-custodial product, and because it's like cash, because it's truly just using assets that you own, you don't need to go through these painful processes. And so you can create much more viral, much easier to onboard products than any Web 2 product out there. And then one more thing I'll mention is a really interesting feature we have in Beam called Beam Links. And Beam Links, I think, are the easiest way to send money in the world, because all you have to do is text someone a link. You go into Beam and you say, I want to send you $5. You hit Create Beam Link, and you get a link, and you can message it to the person on Signal or WhatsApp or iMessage or Carrier Pigeon or however you want to send it to them, and they can simply tap that link, even if they don't have a Beam account, open it up, receive money, and send it to someone else. And when you think about some of these features, they're actually better than the Web 2 equivalents. And that's what we need to emphasize. So much time is spent in the space talking about getting to parity, getting to the same level as Web 2 products, and while we need to do that, it's not enough. We need to actually surpass them and use the advantages of crypto and non-custodial products to build better UX. The other thing I want to talk about here is liquidity fragmentation. I mentioned this, that we've created all these blockchains as an industry, all these rollups, L2s, all these different state machines, but they don't interoperate with each other cleanly. And they're all running their own campaigns to acquire users, and products are being built on all these different chains, and yet they simply don't work together. And I find that really odd. We might be okay with it as people in the industry. We're okay with bridging, swapping to a different chain, asking a friend what chain they're on before paying them. But for most people, that just doesn't work. There's no way my parents are going to be comfortable with me saying, what chain are you on? What chain do you want to receive this money on? And them having to answer Optimism or Base or Polygon or whatever it may be. That just doesn't work. And so we need to defragment this. And we need to create a single layer that allows payments to settle on any of these networks, such that the people using these products don't need to worry about what chain they're on. And our wallet Beam actually already does this at some level. When you have stablecoins in Beam, you can see them summed up on any supported network. So if you have 5 USDC on Base and 5 USDC on Optimism, you'll see in Beam that you have $10. You can send $10. And when you try to send $10, Beam will send that automatically on both networks. But the next step is going further than that and actually letting the wallet figure out where the user wants to send those tokens and intelligently routing between chains and getting it to the destination it needs to get to. If you're paying someone who wants to receive funds on Optimism, your wallet should just figure that out for you. You shouldn't have to worry about it. You shouldn't have to think about the idea that you have to bridge from Base to Optimism to send the funds to the person on Optimism. And that has to be solved at the wallet layer. The reality is, I don't think we're getting away from a multi-chain world anytime soon. We're not going to end up with a single chain that everyone agrees on and everyone agrees to make all their payments on. That's just not going to happen. So we can't solve it at the chain layer. The place to solve it is at the user layer. The interfaces that users use to make payments should abstract this complexity away from them. Make it really simple as saying, I just want to pay this person, and the rest of the problem should be taken care of behind the scenes. And we're working on this, building out a protocol to solve these intents, to make it so that on-chain agents can go and accomplish whatever goal a user wants to accomplish without the user having to specify the details. Again, users shouldn't have to say, I want to bridge this, I want to swap here, I want to do all these specific things. They should just say, I want to pay this person this amount of money. We're really close, I believe, to on-chain payments being solved. And I think this is the year, 2024 is the year, for consumer crypto to really happen. We're running a bunch of activations this week, and we've gotten a bunch of vendors, a dozen vendors in Denver, to accept on-chain payments. So there's a bunch of coffee shops you can go to, Nowhere Coffee, Yours Truly Cupcakes, Pit Fiend Barbecue, Our Mutual Friends Brewery, all these different amazing venues that have no relationship to crypto by themselves, but because this technology has gotten good enough, because the UX has gotten simple enough, and because it's easy enough to interface with, they're willing to accept crypto. So you can go there and you can pay with stablecoins at these places. And that, to me, is an indication that we're there. That it's time for us to bring payments on-chain to fulfill that original vision that Satoshi laid out of a peer-to-peer electronic cash system and building better money that the world actually needs. So if this is interesting to you, if you're curious about this, if you want to experience it yourself and either try paying or you want to help us build out these products, build out better wallets and better infrastructure and ways to abstract away all the complexity that crypto brings to the table, in the interest of bringing about the benefits that it can provide, come talk to us. You can tweet at us, beam_eco on Twitter, or, as we prefer, on Farcast or beam-eco. We'd love to hear from you. Thank you.